Hi, hello everyone. Hi Omar. Hi Omar.
Hi, Yara.
So today we'll talk about my most favorite topic ever, which is femtech and women's health. And we take the time to have two guys here to ask them what do they think about women's health. So in general, femtech has been growing massively all over the world, and investors are now thinking more and more about femtech and pouring money. But within the Middle East region, we have, I don't know, like 3, 4, 5 at maximum femtech companies that are focusing on women's health. And I don't know, do you think is there a missed opportunity in the Middle East to focus more on femtech, or do you think that actually the market is not mature enough considering all the challenges and like the maturity of the market? So now we start with Omar Shakir, and you have 1 minute. Start the timer, please.
Yes, so my take on it is that it is a very trendy topic, and we're seeing a lot of companies outside the Middle East start focusing on this. But you and I, Yara, we did this competition a couple of years ago, right, about sexual and reproductive health that was mostly focused on femtech. And we didn't find a problem with getting innovators. We had innovators, but what happened to them now? So I think the problem is that there's a big cultural barrier. And I remember the biggest problem wasn't finding the innovators as much as what would their parents think if they were working on sexual and reproductive health. And I think there would be entrepreneurs if it was a market opportunity. So I don't think it's a market opportunity seeing the cultural barriers that still exist for femtech. And therefore, I don't think it's a lack of innovation. I think Desmond Tutu said, if you want to change race, stop talking about race, if I'm corrected. But anyways, yeah, that's mine. It's not an opportunity yet.
All right, and this is hard to hear. The optimistic Omar Shakir is saying it's not an opportunity. So maybe we move to Omar Zaki. Omar Shakir, please start the timer.
So yes, I do think it's an opportunity. As I always think, there's always an opportunity. I think that there's still going to be a lot of challenges and things to figure out. I think that there's still a lot of definitions around what femtech is and kind of how the technology for supporting women and women's health is deployed, right? And again, thinking about the types of end users, the types of delivery mechanisms. I mean, there's still infrastructure challenges like we've talked about before, where, for example, wearables and smart devices aren't necessarily widely distributable across the majority of female populations. But there's still, I think, solutions that can be deployed within the provider settings that can be catered towards women's health, right? And can be, for example, algorithms developed around solving issues for, women's health. So I think that there's still opportunity. You just have to figure it out.
All right. Okay, it's good to have now Omar Zaki saying there is an opportunity. Well, so I say definitely it is an opportunity, considering all the challenges that are there, like the barriers, for the cultural barriers that exists, and also the lack of data around women and the lack of understanding around women's health in general. However, women basically are 50% of the population, and it's proven that women are the people who take most of the household decisions when it comes to healthcare and when it comes to their own health, and that there is not really anything that is catering for women's health. There is a very clear opportunity, and you have the startups that are working. So you have either like Mother Being, which is not a startup, but it's a platform to educate women around sexual and reproductive health. They're growing massively. And it's because the market has absolutely nothing, and women in the market, me also, craving anything that would cater for us. So I say yes. So Omar Shakir, did we convince you?
Well, you both are very convincing. I have to say, you softened me a little bit, at least. Opened up some opportunities. I hadn't heard of this, the motherhood platform. It's called Motherhood, you said, Yara?
It's called Mother Being. It's
Mother
not
Being.
a startup. Yeah,
Okay.
it's an Instagram page. It's a platform that got like thousands and thousands, like actually hundreds of thousands of followers very, very fast. Because it's
Okay.
the only thing that is providing like clear sexual and reproductive health education for women, and not, you know, like the books developed or the things that, you know, you have to need to understand it. So how can you turn things
Okay.
like that into a business model?
So that's good to see some of that validation. Your point about the economic like spending and health decision making power that women had, it was a very interesting one. And I think you know, I can change it to a tentative yes based on some of the things that we're seeing. You know, I've been following the Lini Tech, which has a really good algorithm for detecting breast cancer, for instance, which I would consider as femtech. But we're seeing a lot of problems in getting the industry to find the economical pressure for it. And we're also, Al-Tibbi just launched Mama. So I'd be interested to see how that picks up too. That's a very interesting play. So I'll say a tentative yes.
Sure. Well, I also want to highlight like one of the startups called Egyptian Doula, which is very interesting. So Doula is wasn't necessarily a concept that was in Egypt, which is basically like a support for the pregnant mom and for the parents in general before they give birth. So it's not a midwife, it's not a doctor, but it's support and education, and they're doing really great. So Omar Zaki, do you have any other inputs?
Well, I love that kind of idea because, to me, I love the examples of cross-pollination that happen where, methods of care and treatment and or ideas around, the ways that people interact with each other in one area, become feasible in another location. And I think that concept of the doula, though it never existed really as a part of our culture in the Middle East, is a concept that can be useful and can be now maybe looked at as a solution to a lot of the current needs of women in the Middle East. And so, I'm very excited about, examples like that and trying to help, with supporting the education and awareness. I think that's still the main, kind of foundational element, is really the right sort of awareness and information distribution across, the people, so they understand why they can get a value out of a solution or a service like that. But excited to see how that continues.
I have one more question. So as guys, if you are investors, would you be convinced to put your money into a femtech solution? For me, I think this is one of the biggest challenges. You still have most of investors are men, which do not necessarily relate to the problem, so they don't necessarily understand it or see the market, and maybe not. So what about you guys?
Yes, I would go, full force, but I would do it right. I would bring on the right sort of, female experience and expertise on my team to look at these things and help me think through. And, in a way, I would allocate that decision making to the people who know that, kind of world better than me. But I would definitely support it because I see the growth in the market in terms of the numbers, the demographics, the needs, all the issues you addressed before in terms of the economic power.
Thank you, Zaki. I think that's a smart investment. And let's see. Omar Shakir said no already. They were.
Yeah. When I put myself in as an investor, myself in the shoes of an investor, it was still a no. Just not now. Too early.
Well, we need to have more women investors then. We clearly
yes.
I support that.
I support that too.
Yeah. All right. So thank you all guys. And what are the topics that we'll be talking about next time?
I think it's time to talk about predictive analytics.
I don't have anything off the top of my head.
I think predictive analytics and optimizing things with AI is a big thing. Especially since we're seeing universal insurance and we're expecting more data over the next few years.